Resident Evil 9 is on its way. Still waiting on official word from Capcom whether that's this year or next. But in the meantime, let's go over 9 things we'd love to see for this inevitable mega blockbuster of a hit.
Resident Evil.
The heart of the fun factor. This should be an easy thing to incorporate as we have 2 different systems that work extremely well, unless for some strange reason Capcom goes with neither option. The remake formula and first person should be a good fit for Resident Evil 9. It'll be interesting to see what Capcom does if Leon is in fact the main character. You'd think with the mega success of Resident Evil 4's remake that the new game would take that and expand upon it. It would also seem strange for a game focused on Leon, whom primarily has been in third person, VR not included, to be in first person or something else. All the other nuances you've come to expect should be here. If Capcom is trying to reinvent the wheel for gameplay, might want to try new things elsewhere. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Ah, damn it.
Looking for something?
There's several characters I'd love to see return, as I'm sure you would as well. Rumors have seesawed on Jill's involvement, or lack thereof on more recent news fronts. Would you like to see Rebecca or Billy show up? If Leon is indeed the frontman, you'd expect to see Ada at some point as well. It'd be funny for Hunk to cameo or have a game mode again. Chris almost seems too obvious and overused, but if it's Chris and Claire, or just Claire for Leon's next level of love triangle, I'm all for it. Someone else I forgot to mention perhaps? Let me know who you'd like to see down in the comments. As just about anything in regards to story is a guess, maybe outside of the general location being in Southeast Asia on an island with new bioweapons, like what we saw at the end of Resident Evil 8 as enemy types, I'll turn this into what would you like to see happen? I'm sure Capcom wants this to be as big of a hit as possible, which would require surprises both good and bad. Would they actually have the balls to kill off a longtime character? Would bringing back Rebecca, Billy, or even reviving Wesker in some capacity be bold enough? Or is this a small-time setting in a big open setting? Think Resident Evil 7's isolated swamps, but a full island instead to traverse and survive through. Resident Evil has a long list of weapons used throughout the series. Ignoring the obvious of pistols, magnum, grenades, and all the others, what unique weapons would you like to see return? Resident Evil 2's Spark Shot was kind of fun, but it took way too long to charge and might make 0 sense for a more open-spaced environment. The Flamethrower could work well if there are enemies that fear or are weak to fire, especially if there is a forest setting. Is Resident Evil at its best when horror is the focus or action? Based on the immense success of Resident Evil 4's remake, you might think the latter. Resident Evil 4 Remake did manage to at times try to incorporate horror, but the heavy action focus always takes over in the end. Does that hold true for Resident Evil 9 to be successful? Where do you lie on the fence? More horror-centric than Resident Evil 4, or keep it as is? I find Resident Evil to be at its best when it presents varying perspectives.
What was that?
By that, I mean like what we've seen in Resident Evil 2 Remake, with the game having both Leon and Claire's perspectives, with the additional bonus what-if scenarios. There's a reason why Capcom continues to utilize invincible enemies that force you to flee and not fight. It amps up that vein of horror and dread, limiting your options. It works well even if it gets redundant. I'd expect it to return in some fashion for Resident Evil 9. This game's setting is swirled in rumored locations, but if there is a forest in some capacity where the creepy tree folk reside, having something chase you, creepily gaze upon your movements, and strike out of nowhere could be the exact experience we just might like to see in Resident Evil 9. Specifically, the save music and typewriters. Those magically annoying typewriters scream Resident Evil DNA. Add in the save room music and I feel right back in this home of horror. Any Resident Evil that has the music, or at least a rendition of it, strikes that nostalgia and instantly makes everything a pinch better, whether it actually is or not. I've mentioned a few surprises already throughout the video, but here's a few more that could make for great additions for Resident Evil 9. We might want a catered, more focused environment, but perhaps the writing is on the wall and the level design opens up even more so. What if it's connecting areas like Resident Evil 8's village, but multiplied to being all sorts of locations throughout the island, both inside and out? I teased this earlier, but what if it's not Leon and Jill as the two mains, but Leon or Hunk to choose from? Where you see more of the hero's side with Leon and a very different experience through Hunk's eyes. Might not be as great as Jill, unless Leon and Jill were just swappable characters for the same playthrough. Co-op returns, but with a twist. The scare-o-meter would plummet if it was simply Resident Evil 5's co-op again side by side, but what if it's more like Outbreak, where you are on opposite sides of the island, alone until you find one another? Might be difficult to pull off if the story and events trigger in a more linear fashion, but seeing as we still don't really know anything about Resident Evil 9, there's a lot of guesswork and fantasizing we can do until that first trailer drop. What new feature or surprise could Capcom add to make Resident Evil 9 stand out? Share your thoughts, opinions, and epic Resident Evil experiences about your favorite Resident Evil games on Hittobox. I'll be back soon for your next Resident Evil video, but bye for now. Have a great week, and I'll see you for the next one to discuss Resident Evil all over again on Hittobox.